Okay, here's a thought. What if the very tools we're using to fix our biggest problems, things like climate change and public health, what if they're actually fundamentally broken? This explainer dives into a powerful idea that the money we're using to build a better future might just be the very thing holding us back.
Yeah, it's a question that probably feels a little too familiar, right? Why does it seem like our most important systems are always just teetering on the brink of collapse, no matter how much money we throw at them? It's a really weird paradox when you think about it. We pour billions of dollars into trying to fix these things, but what do we get back? More fragility, not resilience. Well, the source material for this explainer says this isn't some accident. It's actually a design flaw baked into our financial tools themselves.
So, what's really going on here? Well, according to this research, the problem boils down to the three main types of capital we always rely on. Let's break down these culprits, if you will.
All right, first up, debt. We all get how this works, right? It's super useful for getting what you need right now. But, and it's a big but, it comes with a price tag. You've got interest, you've got liabilities, and that constant risk of refinancing hanging over your head.
And yeah, that entire cost, you can boil it down to one single word: fragility. The very logic of debt actually increases the brittleness of the systems it's supposed to be helping. It makes them way more vulnerable to shocks. Okay, next on the list is equity. This is all about trading a piece of ownership for capital. It's the engine of the startup world for sure. But when you try to apply it to things like public goods, you run into a whole different set of problems. Suddenly, control is in the hands of investors who are, naturally, pushing for short-term returns. And the keyword here, the fundamental problem, is extraction. I mean, the whole purpose of equity capital is to pull value out of an organization for its owners. And that mission is often in direct conflict with strengthening a public system from the inside out. And last but not least, we have grants. The workhorse of the entire nonprofit and philanthropic world. They fund incredibly important stuff, but they have this one fatal flaw just baked right into their DNA. The money gets spent, and poof, it's gone. And what does that lead to? A constant cycle of depletion. After you use it once, that capital base just collapses to zero. This puts organizations in this state of chronic dependence, always on the hunt for the next round of funding just to keep the lights on. This quote really just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly summarizes the core problem. Our money is working on the wrong timeline. Think about it. A grant might operate on a 4-year political cycle, but a flood barrier needs to last 15 years. The pressure for quarterly returns from equity just doesn't mesh with the decade-long mission of a scientific institute. It's a total mismatch. Okay, so all of this leads to a really fascinating question. If our existing tools are so misaligned, what if our entire map of the financial world is, well, incomplete? What if there's this huge blank space on the map, a whole category of capital we've just completely overlooked, one that's specifically designed for building long-term resilience? And boom, here it is. This visual just lays it all out. This is the capital phase space. So on the vertical axis, you have the rate of extraction. On the horizontal, you've got the time horizon. You can see our usual suspects: debt, equity, grants, all kind of huddled in their corners. But look, down there in the bottom right, a totally empty quadrant for capital that is long horizon and has zero extraction. This, right here, is the home of what the research calls regenerative capital. Okay, so what is this stuff exactly? I mean, how can you have money that literally recycles itself and actually gets stronger over time? It sounds a little like magic. Let's unpack this definition, because this is really the core of it. The most important part is that this is capital that preserves its principal. It's not a loan, so there are no liabilities attached. It's not an investment, so there are no extractive ownership claims. Its entire job is just to be deployed again and again, cycling through a system, making it stronger with every single pass. And this graph right here, this shows the magic in action. See that red line? That's your typical depletive capital, like a grant. It's a one-time shot, and then its value is spent. It just disappears. But now look at that green line. That's regenerative capital. It compounds, it recycles, it grows, and it builds up the system's capability with every single cycle. Let's just put a hard number on that, because it's pretty mind-blowing. With a really modest 85% recycling rate, this model shows an 84.6 times expansion in total value over 30 cycles. I mean, that is a staggering multiplier, and it's not coming from interest or profit. It's coming purely from recycling, from what they call temporal compounding.
So here's where it gets really interesting, how this thing scales. Because this isn't just some small-scale idea for one project. This compounding effect has absolutely massive implications for how we could fund, well, pretty much everything. Okay, check out the math on this table because it really tells the story. A traditional grant is a 1x multiplier. You use it, it's done. But look what happens when you start recycling. Even a 50% rate doubles the value. At 85%, you're at that nearly 85x multiplier we just talked about. And if you can get to an optimal 95% rate, we're talking over times 300 times the impact from the exact same starting amount of money. And again, this isn't just a theory for like one community organization. The whole architecture is designed to scale up. You could go from an institutional pool at a university to a sectoral pool for the entire healthcare industry to a sovereign fund for a nation's climate plan, and even to global pools to tackle our biggest shared challenges. So you can see how this all starts to build towards something way bigger. We're not just talking about a new financial product here. We're talking about a whole new economic paradigm. A post-extractive economy. This table just puts it all together perfectly. It's a perfect summary of this whole idea. Just look down the columns with me. Does it preserve the principle? Only regenerative capital. Does it impose hard liabilities? Nope. And what about its impact on fragility? Well, debt amplifies it, grants create volatility, but regenerative capital actually reduces it. See? It's not just a better version of the old tools. It's a totally different system in a category of its own. And all of this leaves us with one last really powerful question to think about. If we could design our financial systems not to extract value, not to deplete capital, but to preserve and regenerate it, just imagine, what could we actually build?